Okay, welcome in. You're listening to the weekend edition of the Korelin Economics Report. I'm Al Korelin. Appreciate you joining me. Boy, it's getting easier and easier to say that after doing this for 15 years. I think I could say it standing on my head with my eyes closed, to say the least. But welcome in. This show in its entirety is being generated from the Cambridge House International Investment Conference in Vancouver, British Columbia. We attend all of the Cambridge House conferences. I hate to admit it, but I have been speaking at these conferences now for going on 20 years, and these are clearly the most well-run conferences almost in the world, and certainly in Canada, no question about that. Talking about well-run and influential websites, conferences, people, what have you, I'm opening the show this week with Peter Spina. Peter is an absolutely brilliant young man who I am insanely jealous of. Peter started totally on his own one of the most important websites out there. The website is GoldSeek. I go to GoldSeek all the time. I mentioned during my keynote speech today that one of the most important things in investing is you must get information from all the sources that you possibly can. I'm here to tell you GoldSeek is right at the top of that list. Just, Pete, in terms of interest, what got you to start GoldSeek?
Okay, well, first, it's a pleasure to be on your show again.
Nice to
Thank
have
you
you.
for having me on here. What got me interested was my parents. They introduced me into investing at an early age, but even more importantly, my parents escaped from a communist country.
They did. Mine did too. And
they have that firsthand experience on monetary issues and the significance of what gold and silver represent in a monetary system. So that was a big influence.
You know, it's interesting. I started doing this radio for exactly the same reason. I'm a very big believer in gold as not only as an investment, but in the commodity as a form of insurance. I think gold and silver are without a doubt the best things that you can have. Your folks would attest to it, and mine certainly would. My parents, on my mother's side, bought their way with hard assets out of communist China in 1949. So they would not have ever come to the United States. They would have never seen 1950 if they weren't able to buy their way out.
It's incredible. And
it's an interesting story.
We're very fortunate to have that background. It helps us understand what's going on now, and it really is cyclical. It's happened in many parts of the world in recent history, and
I agree.
It seems to be repeating itself again.
Well, it really is. I mean, you know, Pete, when you say that history seems to be repeating itself, I'm not particularly optimistic either politically or economically as to what's happening, and I can't comment here about Canada. Okay, I think Canada is in much better shape than we are in the United States, but boy, if you look at what's going on right now in the United States and also in Europe, pretty scary.
Yes, it's continuation on of the big credit bubble. Banks are having their capitalization issues return, and the fix is print more money and give it to the banks, and with no regard to really stability or integrity of the currency that's issued by a private institution, and we're supposed to believe and trust it.
It's really unbelievable to me. Let's get to something that is believable. Let's talk a little bit about GoldSeek, where you are today. Let's do that first, and then let's get into where you're going to be in 2 or 3 months.
Okay, sure.
We'll start with today.
So today with the websites, Gold and Silver Seek continue to grow. A lot more interest is being generated as the market develops, and more people are looking for information that isn't necessarily found in the mainstream media. And as you said, it's another resource or source of information to do your own homework and try to understand really what's going on. And I think that's really the key, is to do that research and homework for yourself. So at GoldSeek right now, we're in the process of redeveloping the websites, and we'll be relaunching in the near future a new version of the website, which will have new technologies and new ways for the information to be disseminated and connect with people.
You know, the interesting thing that I have found about the technology that Peter's talking about right now is, as our listeners are aware, my daughter Sarah got married here about 6 months ago. Kyle, her husband, my new son-in-law, is involved with Microsoft. They were down over the weekend, spent the weekend with us, and I have to tell you, you might as well be talking French or Spanish to me, because I understand nothing about technology other than what an absolutely wonderful tool the internet has become.
It's remarkable, and I keep thinking about, do we really understand the implications of what's happening right now?
Well, do we? That's an interesting question.
Yeah, with all this information being disseminated, information has never been connected the way it has right now, and people have never had the access to information to decide really what the truth is. So very few people really had control over what the information flow was in the past, and now we have this sharing information on a global level, very instantaneous now, and it has, I would like to believe it's a big positive force to how things develop in the next 5-10 years.
Peter, in my opinion, it's a huge, huge force in why society is where it is today and where society will be in the future. It's absolutely mind-boggling when you realize the business that I'm in. I don't subscribe to a daily paper anymore. I don't watch television anymore because I don't need to. I can get information off the internet that is literally minutes old.
It's incredible, and what I've found over the years, as I have turned off my television and not read the newspaper, I'm introduced to new sources of information. I really found the mainstream media to use a lot of fear and sensationalism, and really making you focus on issues that they want you to focus on, which in my view, a lot of it is just a distraction. So,
as I was mentioning in my speech earlier this afternoon, the problem with the mainstream media is whether you're right, left, or whatever, the mainstream media is really biased, and consequently, taking television stations, for example, news stations as an example, if you want to get what I think is a really accurate picture, on the one hand, you have to listen to Fox, and on the other hand, in all fairness, you have to listen to CNN, because you're going to get totally different descriptions of events depending on their slant.
Absolutely. I would take it even a little further, and what I do is check out the foreign media. I find a lot of times the foreign media has a more independent and accurate view of what's going on, and try to use those various sources to build an opinion. So.
I agree 100%. I want to ask you one last question. This is something that we chatted about on the show at length last week. I spoke with Jeff Deist, who is Ron Paul's chief of staff. I spoke with people in our industry, et cetera, and we were talking about SOPA. Now, I want to give you my view first, and then I'd like to get your view. Number one, nobody, in my humble opinion, is even close to suggesting that people should be allowed to break the law. That's not the issue. The issue, in my opinion, why I'm personally against it, is because I don't think it's the place of the federal government to have the ultimate authority. I think we have to leave that up to the judicial system. You think I'm nuts?
No, the premise, like you said, SOPA was to protect some rights, file sharing and so on, but to give such power and authority, broad authority to the central organization power structure that is looking to impose greater control on the internet. And they sell it one way, but people quickly realize that the true agenda was something else, and people rose up against it, and millions and millions of people said no, and it stopped. So it really shows that the power of the people, when they really become active and are paying attention to what's going on, things can turn out for the better, and not just be asleep and allow things to happen and have your rights taken away like that. So.
I think it was the greatest example in the United States that I've seen in a long, long time of people rising up and saying no. And as long as we live in a free society, the ability to stand up and say no, as Peter learned from his parents, as I learned from my parents, that is absolutely critical. When you stop and think about it, if an entity like the federal government, in our case, had the ability to shut down the internet, they could or to control the internet, they could control society. And Pete, that is terrifying to me.
It is. We just broke free. With internet has given us new freedoms, and I'm sure that there are those who want to take that back. But I'm hopeful that there's enough people out there who won't allow that to happen, and we'll continue to see a lot of positive transformations occur in the years ahead. And I guess there's upside to what's happening right now. And
the upside to what's happening right now is it shows that freedom still works, in my opinion. As long as folks like Peter Spina continue doing what they're doing on the internet, we're in good hands. Pete, thank you so much.
Thank you, Al.